Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight's business meeting. My name is Brad Gottschall, the Lower Paxton Township Manager. And in typical fashion here, I'll give a quick summary of tonight's board agenda. So under old business, the board will consider a deed restriction at Wolfensberger Park, confirming a relocation of wetlands within the park, kind of an internal structural change. Next, the board will take action on bids for tree cutting and stump and root grinding within the BC 2A, B, C, and BC 5B sewer project. After this, the board will consider Resolution 19-06, allowing for the destruction of certain records in accordance with the Pennsylvania Municipal Records Act. Finally, under old business, the board will consider a proposal by H. Edward Black and Associates for professional services in conjunction with Heroes Grove Phase 2. Under new business, the board will enter into a public hearing for the purposes of entertaining a request to transfer a restaurant liquor license into the township from within the city of Harrisburg. The board will then consider Resolution 19-02, approving or denying such a transfer. The board will then consider 3 separate change orders for various sewer improvement projects throughout the township. Finally, before acting on improvement guarantees and payment of bills, the board will consider a declaration of consolidation of previously subdivided lots at 18 Care Street. And at this point, the members of the board are seated and prepared to begin. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting of the Lower Paxton Township Board of Supervisors to order. If everyone would please stand, Mrs. Lindsay will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have before us approval of minutes for the meetings of October 16th, 2018 and October 30th, 2018 budget workshop. Is there a motion to approve those 2 sets of minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the minutes of October 16th, 2018 and the budget workshop meeting of October the 30th, 2018 as prepared and circulated.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Before we proceed to public comment, I would like to report that the Board of Supervisors met in executive session prior to this meeting, and we discussed a number of legal and personnel-related items. At this point, would any member of the public like to address the board on an item not on the agenda tonight? Yes, please come to the podium and give us your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Heather Stevens-Jones. I live at 26 Judy Lane, Harrisburg / Windlesstown, PA 17112. The item I would like to request, and if I do anything incorrectly, please, I apologize. It's my first time doing this. But the item that I would like to request is a crosswalk be placed on Union Deposit Road. On February 5th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. approximately, Elaine Pendleton, age 63, was walking across the street on Union Deposit Road at Collingswood Drive and Acre Drive. She was struck by a vehicle and killed. I've spent the last couple weeks in this area, taking the time to just kind of look around. You have 4 significant apartment buildings in this area. At Twin Lakes Manor Apartments, there's 1,000+ people, many of those being children that are coming from the high school, that cross on a sidewalk that is only on one side of the road. They have to cross the street in order to get to Twin Lakes Manor Apartments. And there is no crosswalk there, and there's no handicapped service there either. And I believe that this is a huge risk to that community. And I would propose that we at least put some signage and a crosswalk in that area to alleviate any further issues that are there. And that's my request.
Thank you. Of course, that road is a state road, I believe. So this would be a matter that would have to be taken up with PennDOT. However, we will look into it.
Is there anything that the township can do at all?
We can make requests. However, PennDOT has rules and regulations as to where signage can be placed, where crosswalks to be placed, and it is their road. So we can request, but it would be up to PennDOT to actually take action. However, we will investigate the possibility of making a request.
And I will go see PennDOT. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to address the board on an item not on the agenda this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to chairman and board member comments. And right off the chute, actually, Mr. Gottschall, you may have planned to include this in your manager's report, but I understand we've had some communication from PennDOT relative to our request to have a traffic signal placed at the intersection of Fairmont and Locust. And can you bring us up to date on where that stands?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the public. As noted, yes, PennDOT has provided good news to us that the warrants for the proposed traffic signal have been approved by the department. So now at this point, our consultant will be in the process of putting together the design, conceptual improvement plans and designs showing, exactly where the turning lanes will be, et cetera, which will then be provided to PennDOT for further approval. Unfortunately, due to some of the unexpectedly long review in this initial phase from PennDOT, the process has been delayed a bit. And so as a result of that, the expectation that construction will occur this year has been tempered just a bit. However, it is anticipated that engineering and design can be completed this year, and then with hopeful PennDOT approval by late fall of this year, which would put construction beginning sometime in 2020.
Well, that is certainly good news. And as I'm sure all members of the board remember, we had significant public input on this. The developer has actually agreed to pay for installation of said traffic signal. And former Representative Marsico and Supervisor Zumas had engaged PennDOT on our behalf, and Representative Lewis, after he took office, followed up on our behalf. So our appreciation to our former and current state representative and to Mr. Zumas for their efforts to make this come about. So this is indeed very good news, and thank you for providing us with a timeline, because I'm sure that now that we have approval, as word gets out, folks will be expecting to see a traffic signal, but it does take a little bit of time to get that done.
Yeah, at least they know that they're going to get one, and I think that's what they were looking at, as they've been contacting us and coming to the meeting. So I think that's a win situation for them. And Phase 2 is almost done back there, and they've sold lots in Phase 3. So by next year, when we do get that, I think it'll definitely be a great asset for out there.
Absolutely. So, yes, ma'am, would you like to come to the podium, please? Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Just be on the VOTEC school.
Yes, it's the Presbyterian Church is on one corner, and there's soccer fields on another, housing development on the northeast corner, and townhouses on the southeast corner there. And of course, with the development at Union Station, there are a lot of houses going in there, businesses that are opening up. And our anticipation is that the traffic flow through that intersection is only going to increase and do so rapidly. So having a signal there, hopefully about a year or so from now, is certainly good news. So we wanted to share that with you. Board members, do you have additional comments you would like to make?
Yeah, I have two. This week is National Engineers Week, so I wanted to thank all the engineers that service Lower Paxton Township for the great job that they do. Thank you, Tim. Yep. So, and last night I represented the board at the Council of Government meeting, and we met at Good Hope Fire Company over in Mechanicsburg. The topic was recruiting and retention of volunteer firefighters. So I wanted to thank Director Kashiba and Chief Fogg from Colonial Park for attending with me. A lot of the questions last night were, what is a succession plan in the fire companies? And a lot of the fire companies have a lot of older members who are at the top of the plan. And so what they need to do is try to get the younger volunteers in to follow into that succession plan. So they were saying last night that, getting into the schools is a big thing. And some of them are saying they're even getting into the elementary schools. The firemen are going into the elementary schools and trying to get kids excited. There was about 300,000 a couple of years ago volunteer firefighters in the state of Pennsylvania, and they're down to about 36,000. So we definitely need to have the volunteer firefighters. We do a lot of mutual aid here with Lower Paxton. It takes 18 to 22 firefighters for a house fire. So we do a lot of mutual aid with Susquehanna and Sweater Township. Luckily for us here, we have 2 live-in programs out of our 3 fire companies, which help us during the course of the day. So last night when I spoke, I told them about what we do here at Lower Paxton. We give the earned income tax credit. We also give the real estate tax credit, and I talked about our LoSAP program. And the guy that was giving the talk, he was very grateful for our township that we have all 3 components to go in. And I think because we do that, that's why we don't have as much trouble recruiting here in Lower Paxton Township. So actually, Gary Myers from COG, who is the director, he wanted to get a copy of our LoSAP. So I think we'll see that probably floating around the state. But yeah, so there was probably close to 100 people there last night from different fire companies and COG members. So yeah.
Ms. Lindsay, we also have another advantage. We live in the shadow of the Pennsylvania State Fire School. And as a result of that, there are many students who are participating and have matriculated into that program. And as a result, they need places to live. And so our municipality is contiguous with that. So therefore, we're able to recruit young volunteers. We provide housing for them while they're continuing their educational program. Which is good news.
Right.
The bad news is after they graduate, then they return to their home communities, which is also good. But at least that gives us one more opportunity that perhaps other communities do not have.
Yeah. Sometimes with Chief Fogg was saying at Colonial Park, they can have as much as 11 live-ins at one time. I think they have 7 there right now. And he wasn't too sure how many are living out at Paxtonia. But hey, it's free rent for them, but it helps us out, especially during the course of the day. If we have, like today, sorry to hear about the fire on Rosewood Lane, that a family had lost their house. So if you could please keep them in your prayers. Yep.
Yeah, today was a very active day. My business office is a half a block from the Paxtonia Fire Hall, and sirens were going off all day. Our fire departments are very, very busy.
Yeah.
There's a lot that occurs. Do you have anything additional?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Mr. Zimis, do you have any comments?
I do not.
Mr. Judd, Mr. Crispin?
I'm fine, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and with that, although I have preempted already part of the manager's report, Mr. Godshall, would you like to make any additional comments?
Yes, sir. If I may, I just have a few comments to make in addition. So I wanted to kick it off. If you recall back to a couple of weeks ago when I presented my entry plan phase 1, I included in that document a schedule of future phases, and such a schedule indicated that today I'd be presenting phase 2. Unfortunately, from some things that I've been doing internally, that has been delayed just a bit. So hopefully by next week or maybe the week. Well, we're not meeting next week, but for the next business meeting, I could present phase 2 of that plan going forward. So that's that. We already took care of the Locust Lane traffic signal. So the township, in conjunction with the Central Pennsylvania Blood Bank, will be holding a blood drive here on Tuesday, March 5th, from 1 to 4 p.m. in meeting room A of the municipal center here. So public is invited to attend, and we encourage your attendance at that blood drive on Tuesday, March 5th, if you can make it. And then the township is also continuing to accept applications for 3 different employment opportunities here within the township. We have multiple seasonal laborer positions within the Public Works Department. That is a starting salary of $14 an hour. We are accepting applications for a maintenance mechanic 1 within the sewer department. That has a starting salary of $17.42 an hour. And then also the police department is accepting applications for 1 officer full-time with a starting salary of $20.16 upon graduation of the police academy an hour. And so they are more than 3 great opportunities for anyone who is interested. Please, kick the tires to see if you have anyone who may be interested in applying for those positions. They are great opportunities for anyone who would find themselves in them. So that concludes my manager's report for this evening.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll move to old business, and our first item, you have a question?
Mr. Gottschall, what were those times again for the 5th of March?
The time for that is 1 to 4 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to old business, and we will entertain item A, which is adoption of Resolution 2019-06. This will provide for the disposition of certain records in accordance with the Pennsylvania Municipal Records Manual. Mr. Gottschall, what are we disposing of this time?
Yes, sir. Members of the board, various documents. We have, this will make tremendous room in the file room, which is overstuffed at this point, so everyone in the township will be extremely happy to get rid of numerous boxes. So this is a very routine resolution for tonight.
Yes, it is. Therefore, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve Resolution 2019-06, which provides for the disposition of certain records in accordance with the Pennsylvania Municipal Records Manual.
So moved. Is there a second?
Those of them.
I'll second it.
I'll ask, but I will be surprised if there's any public comment on this issue. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Mr. Gutschall, I just had a question. So do they come and they take them somewhere and they shred them? Where do they go from here?
Yeah, I think we shred them internally here. Actually, we have some. Oh, no, I'm being told otherwise. Yeah, we have Higher Information Group that contracts with us to do that shredding, but we do it here on site. They don't.
So Shelley's not going to be feeding all these documents into a shredder? That's no. Okay. Go-
I was just
Or
curious.
consuming them herself.
well, yes.
Thank you.
All right. Now we have a proposal by H. Edward Black and Associates, this for professional services for Heroes Grove, Phase 2 construction drawings and construction administration. Mr. Gottschall, do you want to set up the discussion?
Yes, sir. So tonight with us we have Mrs. Christine Hunter from H. Edward Black and Associates. If she would like to provide any comment, we could certainly have her come up and do so to share with the board what this is all about.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening, Christine.
So, I'm here again for Heroes Grove, and we are happy to say that we are ready to embark on Phase 2. Phase 1 was constructed, completed in 2016. We've now been able to gain grant funds to construct Phase 2. Phase 2 will consist of a roof over the structure, and then stage lighting, and some walkways and some infrastructure there. So again, the grant funding is in place. The proposal that we have submitted is for our professional services to prepare the construction drawings, to administer the bidding, and then provide construction administration. Those professional fees have been part of the estimate for the construction costs for these grant funds. They are paid for by the grant funds. So the construction and including these professional services will not actually cost the township any money. The reason that I'm coming to you is because the land is actually owned by the township, and the project has been in partnership with Heroes Funding. Heroes Funding spearheads it, does the fundraising, but the facility is actually located in the township park. Because you own it, the grant agencies actually award the grants to the township. So that's why I'm before you with this request. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Just a comment, Christine. Thank you for the explanation at the end. I think many times people think that it's just money flowing from the township, and actually we are simply the holder of the money and dispense the funds. So
Right.
thank you for that explanation for our community.
And it's important to note that this is in fact Dauphin County Heroes Grove and not Lower Paxton Heroes Grove. It
Right.
celebrates heroes all over our county. It just happens to be located here, and therefore we're the ones that the grant flows through. So, and as you pointed out, this is grant money, not Lower Paxton Township taxpayer dollars.
Correct.
And people probably need to be reminded just about, it's in Bright Bowl Park, where it's located. There's still a lot of people who do not know where it's at. It's in Bright Bowl Park, kind of behind the Dick's Sporting Goods, off of that parking lot. And this project, the highlights, although it has several aspects to it, I guess the biggest things are roof and lighting, stage lighting,
Correct.
taking the amphitheater to the next level, and then other parts as well. But that's the
That's the main piece,
big thing.
honestly. Yes.
okay. Then that will make it more visible, and maybe people will be more likely
That's
to
true.
stop by and visit it, take
true.
advantage of all the programs and shows and things like that. We still have, as you do the hard work, we still have some work to do as far as letting people know it's there.
Right.
Available for weddings and other family celebrations as well. We've had some
That's what
weddings
I
there.
So it
wanted-
is.
yeah,
As you
ask-
said, the township does host events there, the summer concert series,
The
the
movies.
movies in the park, and then there are also public events, and it's available really for anyone to reserve for use for any real purpose. There was a wedding there. There is the rally for the troops that happens in
The
in
first Saturday of
spring.
May at noon with R.J. Harris.
So
That's
there
a
are-
big thing for us because that was held at the Capitol. And because of having to pay to park $3 an hour, RJ moved it out here. This will be the 4th year that it's been out, and quite a few hundred people do come. So we're very fortunate that he has chosen the site, and it gives us a little bit of exposure also.
Christine, then when would we be anticipating beginning construction? Hopefully,
It could be yet this year or the spring of
in the
20.
spring of
Of 2020.
But,
late this year or early
we are going to
2020.
move ahead and get started on the construction plans.
A lot of construction in early 2020, traffic signals in Heroes Grove. Do we have any additional board questions?
I don't have any questions, Mr. Henry, but I do want to make a statement here that 3 of us do sit on the Heroes Grove Board committee, but we have taken care of all the paperwork that we are allowed to vote on the project.
And I have also asked Mr. Stein whether or not this would represent a conflict of interest, and since we are awarding money that already we have voted upon, it does not.
Right.
So, but you are correct, we also have filed the appropriate paperwork that 3 of us sit on the Heroes Grove Committee, which, by the way, is a nonprofit entity. So, any member of the public have a question or comment? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Finally, Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the proposal from H. Edward Black and Associates for professional services for Heroes Grove, not to exceed $65,000 for the construction drawings and construction administration as presented this evening.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank
Time
you
to get to
very
work.
much.
Thank you, Christine,
Thank you,
for
Christine.
coming.
Thanks, Christine.
Thank you.
Appreciate all your hard work on the project.
Thank you, Christine.
That brings us to new business, and this would be the time set for a public hearing on a request to transfer a restaurant liquor license, license R9548, into Lower Paxton Township from the city of Harrisburg. And it says Mrs. Zerby, who I do not see, but Mr. Stein, you will be conducting the hearing, correct?
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a time and date set for the public hearing. on a request to transfer liquor license number R-9548 into Lower Paxton Township from the city of Harrisburg.
Sir.
And I believe the counsel for the applicant is distributing information as we speak.
Good evening. My name is Mark Kozar. I'm with the law firm of Flaherty and O'Hara. I do this at all the hearings I go to. I like to plug our firm. Our sole area of practice is liquor law and liquor licensing, with offices in Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, and Philadelphia to better serve you all. I'm here again on behalf of Sheetz. It was last September I was here for the Sheetz that's just up the road on 22. You're going to hear a lot of the same stuff that I said before. I'll try to truncate it to make it a little bit easier. I'm obviously here to request that Lower Paxton issue a resolution permitting the intermunicipal transfer of a liquor license from outside the township to within it, pursuant to the revised liquor code, Title 47, Section 461B3, for use at the Sheetz store at 2300 Colonial Road. I'll just talk quickly a little bit on the background of Sheetz. Sheetz was founded in 1952 with a single store in Altoona. Since that time, they've grown to over 600 stores in 6 states. Approximately 400 of these stores sell beer and or wine. Since the last time I was here, and I don't know how many stores were licensed, but we have 137 Sheetz stores currently licensed in Pennsylvania. We have 24 applications currently pending before the PLCB. As you know, Sheetz has a store on Colonial Road. This store is having some construction done to it. They're adding seating for 30, and they're adding a beer cooler. I was over there today and talked to the construction manager. They expect to be getting their C of O next week sometime. Because the store will now have 30 seats, it will qualify for a restaurant liquor license under the liquor code. If you recall before, the liquor code essentially has pretty minimal requirements for a restaurant. You have to have seating for 30, food for 30, and a minimum of 400 square feet. This store will meet all those qualifications come next week sometime. One of the different things that's going to happen at this store, and it was a policy decision made by Sheetz about 6 or 8 weeks ago, is they are not going to sell beer for on-premise consumption. They sell so little beer for on-premise consumption that they've decided that it's actually more of a hassle than it's worth. So they will not sell beer for on-premise consumption. And quite frankly, there was a case that we lost years ago, but it had to do with an eating place license, which has a different description than a restaurant liquor license. And the Supreme Court held in that case that eating place licensees must sell for on-premise consumption if they're going to sell for beer to go. That same language is not in the definition of a restaurant. We've discussed it with our client, and they said, you know what, we'd rather not do this. We'd rather not have the hassle. Our business model has always been we want to sell beer to go along with the food that we sell. I'll quickly go over the comprehensive responsible alcoholic management program that Sheetz has in place. All Sheetz employees at the store will receive the Bureau of Liquor Control Enforcement created RAMP training program. It stands for Responsible Alcohol Management Program. Teaches people how to recognize fake IDs, recognize visibly intoxicated persons, recognize pass-off situations where someone who's 21 is attempting to buy for people who are under 21. Second, Sheetz has their own internal computer-based alcohol management program that all employees must take once a year. The RAMP program is once every 2 years. Third, Sheetz has a 100% carding policy. I don't know if any of you have been up to the store up here on 22. They started selling beer mid-January this year. if you do go in there, you all look to be over 21, and notwithstanding that fact, you will be carded.
Carrie's not.
I appreciate that. Brad and I are brothers. He's my older brother.
They use a card scanner, which is connected electronically to their cash register. If a card goes through and it's a fake card, an expired card, it'll show up as no sale on the cash register. Cash registers won't accept an SKU for either wine or beer without having a legitimate card being run through. So even if an employee tried to scan something through without the card, the cash register wouldn't recognize the SKU. No sale could be made. Sheetz has a policy that they came up with on their own. I would like to take credit for it. And none of our other clients have this policy, is that if one or more people come up to the cash register with a 6-pack of beer, for example, say 3 people come up, they will card all 3 people, and if any one of those 3 people is under 21, they won't make the sale. And they'll actually write up a report on that attempted purchase, and they'll tag their security cameras to go along with that report, so they can see who this person is that's attempting to buy for somebody that's underage, to keep an eye on it. And speaking of security cameras, all Sheetz stores have between 30 and 40 security cameras. Pretty much every inch of the interior of the store, with the exception of the restrooms, are covered by security cameras, along with all the outside property. And the workers at the store, if you notice, most of them have an earbud or a lanyard around their neck. They can contact the Security Operations Center in Altoona if there's an issue. And what happens is the person on duty at the Security Operations Center, that buzzing of them immediately brings up on the screen that employee in that store, and they can talk down to that person, and that person can talk directly to the SOC employee. They go through a prepared outline of what the issue is and how to resolve it, up until the point where do you need police interdiction at this point. The SOC stores their digital images from all the security cameras for up to 7 years. They regularly provide local police departments with the digital images from their security cameras if it involves criminal activity in the store, on their property. And a lot of the cameras are aimed out at the gas pumps, which takes in the street out in front in intersections. So if there was ever an accident on the street or at the intersection in front of a store, they're happy to provide that video documentation to the local police department. As I said before, Sheetz is not going to serve alcohol for on-premise consumption, so all the beer will be takeout. This is the kind of place, and Sheetz's business model is people will come in, they'll buy food, buy a 6-pack of beer, get in their car, and go home. Sheetz is a responsible owner. They've made a significant investment in the municipality, and they will protect that investment with responsible management and well-trained employees. And for those reasons, I'd ask you pass a resolution permitting the transfer of the license for use by Sheetz. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Do any board members have any questions for Mr. Kozar?
I have two. Oh,
Go ahead.
Gary.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Please.
I have 2 questions. The ending of the wine sale is 11 o'clock. What's the difference in the time between the wine and the beer sale?
The beer sales, they close up, they lock up the beer cooler, and the only place you find beer in the store is in the beer cooler. They don't have it out on the shelves. They don't have it stacked on the floor. They lock the beer cooler at 1:45 in the morning.
Okay, but the wine gets done at 11 p.m. That's my question.
Yes.
What's the difference?
The difference is that
Or why is there a difference?
why is there a difference? That's a question for the legislature. That's the way they wrote. That's the way they wrote the law.
Okay. Okay. And then my other question is, when we approve the other liquor license for a lot of the grocery stores, they have a separate cash register that the alcohol is paid for. Is that?
And that's correct. And
Okay.
there's a separate cash register.
Okay.
If you go to the Sheetz up the road there, you'll see a sign that says beer and wine sales only at this cash register.
Thank you.
I heard you talk about no consumption for beer, but I did not hear you say no consumption for wine. So could I literally go in, buy a sandwich, sit down, open and purchase and open a bottle of wine?
No.
Okay.
Actually.
I didn't hear you say that.
No,
I made an
I'm sorry.
assumption it was
Yeah.
simply purchase and leave, but I only heard beer. I just wanted to make sure that it
Yeah.
included both.
And you're absolutely correct. The wine expanded permit only permits sale of wine to go.
Right. Okay. Well, that eliminates my other questions, because then I would have wanted to know how many of your people were going to be trained, because by law they have to be trained X number per number of people in the store. You don't have to deal with that issue, though.
Well, no,
because you're not-
Sheets actually trains all their employees.
Okay. And then the other one, and again, this may be a rhetorical question, it may already be mandated by state, but I don't do this, so I'm not familiar. What is the maximum amount? How many six-packs may I purchase at the cash register?
You can purchase up to 192 fluid ounces, which works out to 2 six-packs of 16-ounce beers.
Okay. Not being a
No,
beer drinker, I have
not,
no
not that I ever
idea.
measured it.
And I'm not a beer drinker, so that wouldn't work for me anyway.
Sounds like you're planning a party there. Yeah, that's.
And the wine expanded permit permits the sale of up to four unopened bottles of wine, 750 milliliter.
I just know that that's regulated not only by the state, but also by people such as yourselves in community, in college communities, where you could have 3 or 4 young people standing in line, each with their maximum amount of allowance for purchase going out the door and all going to one location. And I know that's very difficult to monitor.
Right. And there's no prohibition in somebody buying a 12-pack of beer, going out to their car and coming back in.
and buying another.
Exactly.
But
That's right.
but the issue there becomes, if you're going to buy that much beer, go to a beer distributor. You're going to get a lot cheaper.
Right. You want the keg.
You are planning a party, aren't you?
Sounds very familiar with all of this here. That's.
Never mind about the keg stand. I'm finished with my question,
Well,
Mr. Chairman.
You had clarified that no wine consumption on the property, so I was going to ask what wine goes with tater tots. But I don't have to. And I did want to make clear, and you already did that it's a 24-hour store, but
Correct.
the alcohol sales are limited. Wine
Right.
is 11 o'clock, shuts off 1:45
For beer.
for beer. And
Correct.
furthermore, I guess just about everything in this plan is subscribed already by the state.
Yeah, that's pretty much
So
true.
our job is to vote on the liquor license.
Correct. And
transfer.
this is the first step of the
It's,
process.
right.
We
And-
can't file an application with the PLCB for this store unless we have a resolution from
Right,
you
right.
all
And
permitting
the
us to
details
do
and
that.
all that, that's beyond our scope. That's just so public knows,
Yeah.
Okay.
I just had one more question. You said that all of the employees are trained. So I know they hired, kids that work out there that are 16 and 17. So can they sell alcohol at 16 and 17 years old?
You must be 18 years old
Okay.
to handle or sell alcohol.
Okay, so even though they're underage, under 18, they're still trained,
They
is
still
what you're
get
saying?
the ramp training.
They still
yes.
get, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any further questions for Mr. Kozar? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard on Resolution 19-02? Yes. You just need to go to the podium.
It's just a curiosity question.
And if you could please state your name and address.
Probably mentioned, I didn't notice.
Excuse me.
Judith Faruqi, 6504 Carmen Court. Judith Faruqi. Faruquee. Maybe this isn't the right question, but does she sell beer now on Colonial Road? You said it's the one on Route 22 sells beer.
That's correct. The one on Colonial was the one we're requesting.
It does not sell beer.
Not yet, no.
Okay, well, I was just wondering, if this is a restaurant license and you're not going to sell the beer to drink in the restaurant, why do you need that kind of license? Why wouldn't you just get a license that sells beer to go?
There's no such license in existence.
Or even that Route 22 one has,
That has a restaurant liquor license, yes.
oh, I have to check that out. But I don't drink. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Resolution 19-02? Yes.
Heather Stevens Jones, 26 Judy Lane, Harrisburg, PA 17112. So you applied for the license based on the 35 seats, but you're choosing not to actually drink on premises, but you're getting the license based on the 35 seats.
That's correct. The liquor code requires a restaurant licensee to have 35 seats. And the definition of restaurant under the liquor code is a location that is habitually open to the public for the sale of food. The definition doesn't mention alcohol at all.
But it's not worth the headache. That's what you're saying. It's great to have the license and sell and get the profit, but it's not worth the headache of actually allowing people to drink on site and cause problems.
That is correct.
Right. And we also have a liquor license right across the street where people can get beer to go from Arugas, correct?
They could.
And we also have a liquor license down the street at Giant where they can get liquor to go. I'm not really seeing the need for another liquor license in a community that is full of children when you have one right down the street at Giant and you have one right across the street at Arugas. But that's just my 2 cents.
That's beer and wine,
Right.
not liquor.
Well, beer
Yes.
and wine, I apologize. It all gives you the same,
I understand what you're
There's a
saying.
very
I just wanna
important
make sure
difference.
it's-
yes, okay.
There's a
Beer
difference
and
between
wine.
beer,
Very
wine,
big
and
difference.
Beer and wine, beer and wine. But you're still requesting the license based on the 35 seats, but you don't want the issues that go along with it. You just want the profit.
It's actually 30 seats.
30
and,
seats.
And under, as we read the liquor code, there isn't a requirement to sell
Yeah.
any type of alcohol for on-premise consumption.
I
In
don't
almost
see the
every,
need.
just in almost every other state, retailers don't have to do these things.
Right,
Do the food thing, and it's much more available in almost every other state than it is in Pennsylvania. So it will still be more restricted in Lower Paxton and Pennsylvania than in
Right.
any other
I
state.
understand what you're saying, I really do. But that's why Pennsylvania is obviously a better state than all the other states. My two, thank you.
That's probably not why, but, you know, could be.
That would be a matter
I
of
don't,
opinion.
I don't disagree with the conclusion.
It is better. It is the best state.
And, yeah, well,
Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on Resolution 19-02? Seeing no further response, Mr. Chairman, it would be in order at this time to close the public hearing on Resolution 19-02, and the board may take action if it so desires.
thank you, Mr. Stein. At this point, is there a motion on Resolution 1902, 2019-02?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve Resolution 2019-02, which approves the transfer of restaurant liquor license R9548 into Lower Paxton Township from the city of Harrisburg.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any additional board comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and for the very thorough explanation this evening.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir. And that brings us to the illustrious Mr. Weaver, who is at the podium with a number of items for us. Mr. Weaver.
Yes,
What's this?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Yes. He's very illustrious.
Well, I don't have anything as exciting as beer and wine, but we do have for your consideration for approval this evening a deed restriction at Wolfersburger Park. The board is very familiar with the BC2 ABC 5B project. That project requires a compensatory wetlands mitigation plan. Specifically, GHD has prepared this mitigation plan, and it's ready for submission to the United States Army Corps of Engineers to relocate forested wetlands that are going to be removed as part of this project to the Wolfersberger Park. So Wolfersberger Park was identified due to its nearby location, and it's within the same watershed as the project. HRG actually, as the township engineer and representing the township and the future Wolfensberger Park, they prepared the actual Exhibit A and B, which is the concise mapping of these wetland areas, to make sure that when the board chooses to relocate these wetlands there, that it doesn't disturb anything with the future master plan that the township has for Wolfersberger Park. So those exhibits are also in your packet. The mitigation plan is by GHD is 88 pages long. I didn't think it was necessary to provide that plan to you, but Tim and I can answer any basic questions. The real need for this forested wetlands, we don't actually come across a whole lot. Most of the sewer projects we do, we restore the wetlands in place. As you know, this is a very large job. It's $20 million. We're going through a good bit of forested wetlands, and we exceeded the federal requirement for forested wetlands that you have to mitigate it. In order to do that in place, we'd have to meet with every resident that we have an easement, which is over 45 people, to try to get easement outside of the sewer area. That would be very cumbersome. So fortunately, we have the future Wolfersberger Park there that already has wetlands in place. So we're not really changing anything at the park other than putting woods there. So beautifying the park. I'll be happy to answer any questions the board has. And Mr. Stein also prepared the deed. He can answer questions. It's a model, actually a model deed that restriction that the Army Corps. Yep.
Yeah, they developed it.
Mr. Weaver, I have a question for
Yeah.
you or Mr. Stein. I don't know where the question needs to be directed. But with our approval tonight, as I understand, that's just only a first step because you and Mr. Stein, or a combination, and engineer as well, have to submit to the Corps of Engineers for final approval. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make certain that just by our approval doesn't mean it's automatically going to happen. We're the first step of approval, then it has to go to them for final approval. Okay.
And by approving this, that would mean that always and forever it would remain a forested wetland?
That's correct.
Very good.
Excellent. Let's move forward.
Any additional board questions? A public question or comment? Is there a motion?
Wait,
Oh, wait.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yes. Please come to the podium because folks at home cannot hear you if you are in the audience.
My name is Judith Faruqi, 6504 Carmen Court. I'm just curious because I haven't seen this before, so I would like to know where I could get not 88 pages, but just some little summary of the park because I'm very interested in it as it's in my backyard practically. And if there's some areas that are being redesigned so that the park isn't, well, originally it was going to have this area and then that area, but that area might be moved to what area? I would just like to know if there's some drawings I can see.
Didn't
I
you
can-
say that there was not going to be any change? What we
No.
this area is not going to impact our future plans.
Correct. I do know that the master plan for Wolfersberger Park is on the webpage. So you could actually go to the township webpage and pull up. I can send you the link if you like.
I know it wasn't approved or anything, but there was conversations about Blue Ridge Village, that area there, maybe 70 acres, that some of that land might be switched up with Wolfersberger Park.
I don't believe so. I don't
So
know.
it's going to
I can't
change, it's
speak-
going to stay as it is.
You'd have to talk to Terry Balknight. She's the parks director. You can call the township and Shelley or someone
So-
could get you in touch with Terry.
This is just, so if I was looking on the web, this would be called, what?
Declaration of restriction for conservation at Wolflesberger Park. It's
Okay.
under B. New business item B.
How are you going to move the wetlands to another area?
We're not moving them. We are actually building new forested wetlands at the park.
Oh,
There's existing wetlands at the site.
yes.
So in order to convert those to forested wetlands, there are certain plantings that we have to accommodate.
So that's what it means by what was it called? Restriction for conservation. Okay, one more thing. When does this begin or end, the Wolfersberger conservation?
The conservation it's permanent. That's the declaration that's required by the Corps to make sure that these forested wetlands are never disturbed again. If you're talking about when we're actually going to build them,
Yes.
that would be at the end of the project. So
Oh,
that
At the end of the sewer project or the stormwater?
both. They're being bid together. So the storm and sewer project's going to be bid sometime in March, and we're going to award a contract in May, and then it'll take about 2.5 years. So we're looking at
I see.
2.5 to 3 years until we start building the.
So it's
forested
going
wetlands.
to actually be forested and it's not going to be cleared out for any golf course or anything like that?
Wolfersberger Park has not been approved by the board for construction. It's just a concept plan.
Oh, okay.
It could be 10,
Let's
15 years.
Let's not get into that aspect
Yeah,
tonight, because that's not
Okay.
what's at issue here.
Just so you know, I'm just wondering about the animals having a place to journey, since they're going to lose my
We're
backyard.
building additional wetlands, and we're putting this in a permanent conservation that can never be changed, so that has got to be a very strong plus for wildlife in the area.
Well,
So,
I'm not going to be around forever, but I hope it doesn't change.
well, hopefully you're around for a while here. That's well, thank you very much. Any other public comment or questions? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the declaration of deed restriction for conservation at Wolfersberger Park as presented by Mr. Weaver.
So moved. Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And
Chairman,
Mr. Weaver, you want to cut some?
May just ask a question. Mr. Weaver,
Yes.
with our approval and your submission, do we have any time frame with regard to how soon Corps will respond?
Yeah,
I should have asked
generally,
that. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I should have asked that question prior to a vote.
generally the review for this part of the plan, since we already have our permit, would take about 2 to 3 months.
Okay, I was just looking for a time frame. I didn't know if it would be a matter of weeks or whether it's a week of months or, we're 12 months out of a year.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And item C, you wish to do some tree cutting, stump and root grinding, and also.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I believe this is probably your 15th or 20th project that we've done as part of these sewer mini basin projects. We have to cut the trees down before you replace the private sewers. So the township did open bids for the tree cutting, stump, and root grinding within the BC 2A mini basin. On Friday, February 6th, the project consists of removing 26 trees in the public right-of-way and 87 trees on private property. And again, it does include grinding of the stumps and the roots during each tree removal. The low bid received was from Promark Tree Service Incorporated in the amount of $70,880. Promark has performed tree removals for the township and past mini basins,
I don't think.
and staff has not had any problems with their work.
You can ask.
Staff recommends awarding the bid to Promark Tree Service Inc. in the amount of $70,880. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Board members, any questions?
I guess just the one thing is this, with the removal of trees, does that automatically go before our shade tree commission? Or is this considered a separate? Huh?
I said, go ahead.
Requirement.
There's no choice. in order to
There's no
replace
choice in the
lines.
matter, because the lines, they have to replace
Right.
the
Yeah.
Well,
lines.
I'm just asking if
We do work with the Shade Tree Commission. Norm Lacoste has been a great help to our sewer department because we're in the sewer business and we don't know a lot about trees. So Norm is actually a tree expert in the whole state. He wrote regulations for the state of Pennsylvania. So we have a great asset on our Shade Tree Commission. When we're dealing with trees in the public right of way and on private property, if we run into an issue that staff needs questions answered, we do talk to Norm. But to answer your specific question, we don't have to go in front of the Shade Tree Commission itself. We do on unique cases. But in this case, it's not unique. You may recall the sycamore trees. That was a unique situation on
right.
Jones.
Trees of note, yeah, historic trees of note, old
Yep,
trees and all.
right.
But this is a massive project that has to be done.
And it's
Yes,
because of the necessity of the private sewers that we
Correct.
must go in.
the trees on top
And I
of the
can
sewer.
understand
You
Mr.
can't
Judd's
replace the
question.
sewer without the tree going. So it's really
Right.
that simple.
Well, and actually, Mr. Weaver, probably some of the residents are glad for us to pay to have it taken down.
We've seen a big move. A lot when we first started, we got some people, oh my poor tree, but now we have people calling, can you take my
Can you
tree
take my
down?
tree?
Well, they want us to take more trees down on the property, and we're like, sorry, we can only do the one on the sewer line. So,
The one with the X's.
yep.
Okay.
Board members, any other questions or comments? Any public questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the bid to provide services for tree cutting and stump root regrinding in the BC2A/B and C and BC5B project to Promark Tree Services in the amount of $70,888 as presented by Mr. Weaver.
Moved by Mr. Chrisman, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. And we will now have Mr. Nolt come to the podium. And I always have trouble with this. Approval of a change order with, how do you pronounce it? Is it J-O?
JOA and Bradley.
J-O-A and Bradley. I always have problems with that name. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I have 3 final adjusting change orders for you here tonight, and I thought since the objective of these 3 change orders is nearly identical, just provide a real brief refresher on what a final adjusting change order is trying to accomplish. Just in summary, the primary purpose of the final adjusting change order is to reconcile the estimated bid quantities to the final installed quantities in the field. So in doing that, final adjusting change order establishes the final contract price. And in the case of these 3 final adjusting change orders here tonight, we're also establishing and setting the final contract time. So with that in mind, I'll go through each one of these. The first one I have is the final adjusting change order for the 2018 sanitary sewer replacement project. As you can see, the current contract price is $1,195,812. The final contract price after approval of this change order here tonight is $1,237,990.12. This change order, as I said before, in addition to adjusting the contract price, also provides for an adjustment in the contract time. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions from the board on this final adjusting change order.
Any questions?
Tim, just for my benefit, it's simply an increase in the numbers, and this is the final change, correct?
Yes, this is
I mean,
the
I
final.
understand that what the reasoning is because it's the quantities were increased over what was originally anticipated.
Yeah, that is correct. And we also had 2 change orders that were previously approved that.
Right, and
that
we're
had-
only approving this last one, which would be in the amount of $42,178.12.
That's correct.
Right.
And this is the final change order
Yes, this is
on
the final.
this.
Okay.
Okay, with that,
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the change order number 3 with JOAO and Bradley Construction Company as a final adjustment in the amount of $42,178.12 as presented by Mr. Knoll.
so moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that takes us to item E, another change order.
Yes, the second final adjusting change order I have for you tonight is the mini basin PC2A contract number 1, which was for mainline lining. The current contract price is $690,012.28. The final contract price after approval of this change order here tonight is $657,536.73. Again, this change order provides an adjustment in the contract times, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman, this one's rather easy. Someone didn't estimate the quantities like they should have, perhaps, but that's good, because anytime that I can get a reduction of $32,000, I'm
Right.
happy to make that motion.
I would assume there's no objection to this.
Happy to second it.
Are you making that a motion, Mr. Crispin?
Absolutely. Do you want it in full terms?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I will move to approve the final adjusting change order number 2 with Able Recon LLC for the mainline lining project in PC 2A with a reduction of $32,475.55 as presented by Mr. Knoll.
And I understand there's competition to second this motion?
Second it.
We all want to second it.
Everybody wants to second it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And number F, we have another final adjusting change order.
Yeah, the final adjusting change order is for the mini basin PC2A contract number 2, which is lateral lining with Mr. Rehab Incorporated. The current contract price, as you can see, is $192,608.95. The final contract price after approval of this change order is $160,950.51. Once again, we're changing the contract time with this change order, and I can answer any questions.
So one increase, 2 decreases before us.
1 increase and then 2, yeah, that's right, 2 decreases.
Yeah.
Tim, is that over in the Colonial Club area?
Yeah, PC2A is the area kind of surrounding the Colonial Country Club.
Okay, Goose Valley,
Goose
that
Valley
kind of-
and
okay.
Colonial Club Drive.
Very good. Any additional questions?
No. Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we approve the final adjusting change order number 2 with Mr. Rehab Inc. for the lateral lining project on PC2A, again, with a reduction of $31,658.44 as presented by Mr. Knoll.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second,
Mrs. Lindsay seconds this one.
jump in there.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Thank you.
you, sir.
And a footnote, Mr. Knoll, continue to bring us decreases in change orders.
I'll do my best.
We do like those. This now brings us to item G, which are subdivision and land development plans, and we do have a proposed declaration of consolidation of previously subdivided lots, and this would be at 18 Care Street. Mr. Godshall, would you care to explain?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Yes, as mentioned, the owners at 18 Care Street, a Miss Cattermole and Miss Labor, are in possession of two separate lots. They are desiring to turn them into one lot at approximately 0.39 acres after the consolidation. At that point, that would allow the owners to erect a new single-family dwelling and accessory building on the new lot, the new consolidated lot. And actually, in the past, a single-family dwelling was on the lot at one point and was demolished in 2013 after being condemned for several years. So this would be actually a good use of the newly consolidated lots.
Okay, seems to be rather straightforward.
Absolutely.
Anybody have any questions about combining these two lots? Any public comment? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the declaration of consolidation of the previously subdivided lots for Maria Cattermole and Julia Lober, 18 Care Street, Plan 2019-04, as presented by Mr. Gutschall.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Improvement guarantees, I see no link, so my assumption would be we have none to act upon tonight. That would take us then to payment of bills for Lower Paxton Township and the Lower Paxton Township Authority. Madam Treasurer.
Yes, I make a motion that we pay the bills for Lower Paxton Township and Lower Paxton Township Authority.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Would any member of the board or the manager have any additional announcements or comments? I see none, and we will have our next meeting on Tuesday, March 5th, 2019, in this room at 7 p.m. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Mr.
So
Chairman,
moved.
don't we
Oh.
have Sewer Authority next week?
Pardon?
Sewer Authority?
Next week, yes.
Yeah, Sewer Authority at 7 o'clock in this room. Lower Paxton Township Sewer Authority.
And a caution for
I
everyone.
didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to mention.
No, that was good.
Yeah.
We certainly don't want to have folks miss the always exciting sewer authority meetings.
Yeah, Mr. Weaver's the star of that.
Yes. Is there now a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.